We flipped the finger to the King of England. Stole our country from the Indians. With God on our side and guns in our hands, looking for our home. Built a nation dedicated to liberty, justice and equality. It doesn't look that way to you, it doesn't look that way to me. Take this joke, I know. Listen up, man, I'll tell you who I am. Just another stupid American.
Hello, welcome to Congress of the Working Class. I'm Mike. I am here with Esworthy and Fred. Hello, guys.
Hello.
Apparently Mickey Mouse has joined us. All right. So, it has been, I think it's been a relatively slow week in news, but one of the big stories that I saw, well, I don't even want to say it was a big story. I thought it was an interesting story, just because of what it was. There's a mother in New York, 33-year-old mother, who decided for her son's 16th birthday, she would buy him strippers. Now, in and of itself, to me, I'm like, you know what? It's not maybe the most traditional parenting, but whatever you want to do with your child of consent and all that different jazz in your own home, not a big deal, right?
Sure.
Okay. So,
I mean, if you look at England and a lot of the European countries, nudity is fully accepted. I mean, you can go to a topless beach all the time over there without any age restriction.
Right. Well, the things that make this story get a little funkier and make me go, "Ah, Jesus Christ!" The woman, not only did she do all this for her son, she then presented it to him in a public place, which would be a bowling alley. So, my first thing was, "What the fuck?" Seriously. But then the other thing is that she had this kid's friends there. And they were like all 14 and 15 years old. And none of the parents were consulted about this happening.
Right.
That would be where I have the problem.
Right, exactly. That's exactly where my thought process came in. And I think it's messed up because this woman is facing a year jail sentence and 5 counts of child endangerment. And, you know, I think that's a bit much for her because, like, as Swarthy has pointed out multiple times with this scenario, which is the children aren't in real danger. So it's not really an endangerment issue.
Right. Maybe public indecency.
Yeah, that's not on the part of the children or the mother. It's on the part of the stripper. And what was the stripper do? Was it just the stripper standing there, or was she, like, actually doing her thing?
The picture that I saw of it, the stripper was upside down, vagina in face, her head in his crotch. Now, she wasn't nude at that point. She got
of a kid?
Yes.
How does that work? I mean, as far as like
thinking of the mechanics,
I assume his penis still works. So
yeah, but the scale. I mean, you have a kid that's half the size of an adult. You have an adult. Then it would be like, you're
pretty close to your size that you're going to be at the age of 16.
Oh, it was 16?
Yeah, he was 16.
Did he get laid too?
I don't know if he got laid. The details don't go that far into the story.
I was going to say, if he did, good for him.
That kid's already seen more nakedness on the internet than he was going to see from a stripper in a bowling alley.
Well, yeah, but my problem with the whole scenario is the two parts of, for one, she decided to do it in a bowling alley. And it's like, okay, well, that just, there's just extreme signs of stupidity in this scenario.
Yeah, you do that in your own house.
Right. Yeah, like, to me, if I wanted to do that for my son and have it at my house, none of my younger children would be here when it would happen. It would be something that would be here for him. It's kind of like, to me, kind of reminds the whole, the old passage of, oh, my son is of age, I'm going to take him to a hooker for his first time type of thing.
Right.
So to me, it's not that big of, it's not that huge of a deal in a private setting. It's your parent, I mean, it's just like if you want to let your child drink responsibly in your home, it's your decision. And, or do drugs for that matter if they are legal. So, I mean, the thing is, I mean, it's your child, and nobody really has a right to tell you how to raise your child.
Yeah, I would disagree because according to the Democrats, the government has every right to interfere with every aspect of your life ad nauseum, like into minutia.
Yeah, but that's not just threats.
Yeah, don't get me going on that, because I'd really love to just take my child and go, okay, you want to tell me how to raise it? I'll tell you what, I can't do it your way, so here, you raise them since you seem to know everything.
Well, you see, that was an issue a lot of the Republicans had, was that, you know, a lot of these Democrats were pushing for regulations about how people raise their kids, you know, and it's one of those things that the parties have a big disagreement over.
Well, it's kind of funny because the Democrats don't seem to care what happens before birth, but the Republicans do. And then after they're born, the Democrats give a shit and the Republicans could care less.
Yeah, I know, right? It's kind of stupid.
Yeah. Personally, I know a lot of people feel this way, but there's so many just fucking nosy people that their morality is, oh, well, that's not how I raise my kid, so you can't raise your kid like that. You know? And personally, every child warrants something different.
Yes.
You know, if you may have one children that nothing will get through to them except for a smack on the butt.
Right.
But then you have another child that you can just give them a look, and they'll know to stop. You know.
And then you have some that neither one of those work.
Right. I mean, so it's you know, and each child. So if I were in a store and I spanked my child, I would wind up having somebody jumping in my shit over the fact that I spanked my child. You know?
Right.
And I'm not talking about, like, using him as a punching bag. You know, I'm talking
about... Right, just give him a little tap on the butt that doesn't even leave a red mark.
Right. You know? I mean, even if it does leave a red mark, you know, it's one hit. You know? I'm not close fist punching him in the face. You know?
Right. Or smacking him so hard that it jerks the spine and causes whiplash or anything like that, you know?
Right. Right. I mean, I'm not talking about anything extraordinarily drastic, but I mean, it completely baffles my mind that people are so anti this, and this is something that we've talked about regularly on the show, is that the fact that you got to be able to raise your children, otherwise you wind up with the, you know, douchebags that we have walking around in this country who think laws don't apply to them and everybody's a fucking winner. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't discipline kids, you can't tell them they're wrong, you can't tell them they're bad, you can't correct them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and to me that's, it's bullshit. And this is just another thing to pile on top of that, you know, like, I mean, now the woman was stupid by, for one, doing it in a public place, doing it around people who she didn't bother to get consent from anybody's parents.
Right, that's where she messed up.
I mean, if she would have went to the parents and said, hey, you know, I'm going to do this for my son. If you don't want your kid there, that's fine, but I'm just letting you know. I think a lot of these parents would have had a shit ton more respect for her, and they might have even been okay with it happening.
I'm sure a lot of them would have, like, you know, please want to participate in it or something, you know.
Right.
Right.
I mean, so it's just, you know, to me it's just, yeah, I don't, she made a lot of stupid mistakes there, but I don't agree with what she's getting charged with, and I don't disagree with the amount of time she's facing. Being that we have bankers in this country who crashed our fucking economy and are not facing a single day of jail time, you know, and then have a mother who was trying to do something nice for her son, albeit she may have went around it the wrong way, could face up to a year, you know.
Well, you know, we have, you know, 5% of the world's population, almost 30% of the world's prison population.
Well, that's because prisons have become big business.
Yeah, but that they also...
Scenarios like this is because of the fact that we put stiff opposition on lower middle-class individuals because they'll work. You know, that's why they're not running around putting high-collar, white-collar people in there because they're not going to work.
Yeah. Right.
They don't have a useful skill. They know how to push buttons on a computer and trade stocks and order people around.
Yeah.
You know, they want working class people in there that'll go in there and work.
Yeah, and then fire working class people who, because when the working class people tell them that it can't be done that way, they go, oh, bullshit, and they just fire them.
Right.
And then they find out a year later that, they kind of knew what they were talking about.
Well, I don't know if I pointed this out in the last show. I don't recall. But the one thing I did find out is that, I'm pretty sure I did, the rise of union busting and everything like that has coincided with the middle class falling, and the lack of unions. You know, as the union membership has dwindled, so has the middle class. I'm pretty sure I did say that last week.
Yep.
But and I mean, and that's what it kind of boils down to. And then you're dealing with, the whole prison society, where they actually have entire companies that do nothing but bid on contracts using prison labor. And, I mean, there are a lot of things. I mean, I know for one, paint. A lot of paint is made in prison. There's a lot of like bulletproof armor and stuff like that is made in prison. But I don't know. It's just the whole privately owned thing. Like I understand, like a lot of people want to get rid of government, but there are just some things that government needs to be handling because it shouldn't be a profit scenario. Like schools shouldn't be a profit scenario. We're generally trying to make the world a better place through education in that environment. And we're going to put a business model in place, and then it's all about numbers. Give me bottom line numbers. And it doesn't work. And it's like I agree that government should stay out of some aspects of our lives, but when you're dealing with things, because I was just watching an interview on The Daily Show, and they were talking about how the people who own hospitals, like the reason why hospital bills are so high is because of the fact that people at the top of these, like the doctors aren't really making the money. It's the people who own the hospitals. And they've got the system so rigged that you don't have an option to go to a different, emergency room, really. Yeah. You get injured, you wind up in an ambulance, you wind up in a helicopter, you wind up at the hospital getting x-rays, MRIs, CT scans, whatever, and you're being charged for every bit of that, and you have no choice in the matter.
Yeah, but part of that now, I'm not saying the hospital administrators aren't getting fat and rich and all that. However, I do know my wife was the chief respiratory therapist at the VA hospital.
Okay.
And to purchase one arterial blood gas machine. And this was in 1992. The one blood gas machine cost $16,000.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, those guys are gouged too because they need the equipment. The hospitals need the equipment, and if there's only one place that makes them.
Right.
There was an article I put up onto the Congress of the Working Class thing regarding the medical fields and how insurance. It's like a 12-page article from Time magazine.
Yep. Yeah, that's the guy who was interviewed on the Daily Show.
Okay. And he was talking specifically about that kind of stuff and how pretty much at every level there's graft and profit gouging and everything else you could possibly think of with bad business practices happening in the medical industry, and nobody addresses that. But instead, they basically say, okay, well, now you're required to participate in this whole industry.
Right.
As opposed to being able to opt out into it because of, the Healthcare Act.
Even still, I mean, even before that, I mean, I think one of the things he put up was like 60% of personal bankruptcies were due to medical bills.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and that's ridiculous when it's something you don't have a choice in. I mean, even without the insurance scenario. You're dealing with something that you don't have a choice in the matter. If I get into a car accident, what are you going to do? Go, oh, well, you know what? Man, he's got all these bills, so we're not going to revive him. And the ambulance is going to go, you know what? His credit doesn't check out. We can't drive him to the hospital. I mean, I know they're not doing that now, but I mean, if they're going to keep worrying about,
Well, this may not be related. Well, it's kind of related, but it's a little bit off topic. But I changed my organ donor status. I'm no longer an organ donor because I have gone to the ER as an EMT, taking patients in there, and the first question out of the physician's mouth is there are they an organ donor? So, and if you say yes, then they're less likely to try to save your life. They just
because they make money off
harvest
that.
organs.
Right.
So, the hell with that.
Yeah, I've never been an organ donor.
Neither have I. Just in case I might need, it might be like the Egyptians. I might need my spleen in the afterlife,
Heaven, yeah. Wouldn't it be a bitch if they were able to take your organs? You got there and you're missing a lung.
Yeah, you're like, ooh. Oh, dude, sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry, we can't let you in because you don't have all your parts.
You got to go to the special ward downstairs.
Right. You wind up with all the TB guys.
Because you didn't keep your body whole as a temple.
Exactly. No, my thing was always like, I'm going in the ground with all my parts. I've beaten my parts up so bad nobody wants them.
Me too.
Between drinking and smoking and throwing myself into different things while riding on different vehicles.
Right?
Yeah, my body's not in the best of shape. So, so I made that decision a long time ago. But, yeah, I mean, I don't know. To me, that should be, and I hate to say this because in a perfect world, it should be this. Hospitals should be a non-profit free organization because you need them. Either that or you are pretty much just left to die.
Right.
That's pretty much because the price gouging and the overabundance of arguments surrounding it, to me is ridiculous. Now I can understand being charged for like cosmetic surgery.
Yes, but
if it's
that's elective,
the infections or
right.
life-threatening required stuff.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But but it's the life-threatening stuff that you get fucked on the most.
Right, exactly.
Yep.
Yeah, because it's like, okay, well, it's like they have you pretty much extortion at that point, but it's like reversed as far as when they gouge you, It's like, oh, yeah, you got to have all these tests and this really weird surgery and this special medicine and, my surgical gown, $175,
Yes,
the light bulb in the surgeon's light is $200.
Right, just to run the electricity in there is $1,000.
Yeah, and
your respiratory electronics, breathing, it costs you.
But they were itemizing like a Q-tip,
right?
Like $1,000 or something, and they do that. And that's supposed to legally be.
Oh yeah, and one Tylenol pill is $7, and $7.34. Oh, are they $34 a pill now?
Yeah, depending on the charge master of the individual hospital.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an insane bit. I want to read the article. I didn't know that's what you had posted. But, like what he was talking about, I was just completely amazed. I knew hospital bills were ridiculous to begin with. I mean, when I dislocated my shoulder recently, I wound up having to go to the hospital because I couldn't drive my car and nobody was home to take me.
Mm-hmm.
And,
you had to go in an ambulance?
Yeah, I had to go in an ambulance, and they wound up charging me...
Oh, that's expensive.
I think it was like almost $600.
That ain't bad.
That's cheap.
Yeah, but usually it's like $1,000 or $2,000. I mean,
yeah, it depends on whether you have a paramedic or a basic level EMT in the ambulance, and whether it's emergent or non-emergent.
And hell, even
life-threatening or not.
On New Year's Eve in Washington D.C., this one person called an ambulance, and it took them like over 45 minutes to arrive, and then the guy died. And then they billed him $800.
Oh yes, if you die, you still get a bill for everything.
Yeah,
even from the hospital.
That is so fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
Then they have to pay for the autopsy and body storage.
Well, the thing is that the person who the survivors here, they're complaining about this because the ambulance took so long because they were understaffed because it was New Year's Eve,
right?
Because everybody took off. And that's why they're saying that's why this person died. Well, it's just pay the bill. That way you can say he was under their care, and you can sue the shit out of him for medical malpractice.
Oh yeah, right.
Because you failed to respond to him. I mean, you want to get down.
You do that without paying the bill. You don't have to pay the bill to do that.
Well, I know. Well, you can still say it was like an $800 bill.
It's kind of like one of those things where you're like, what, fuck an ambulance. I'm taking a taxi.
Yeah.
It'll be fucking cheaper.
That's true in a lot of cases. It's true.
I'm sure.
I mean, if you're not truly like in an emergency situation,
right,
where you're going to
you're
die,
not breathing or something.
Seconds, I remember one time I had problems as a kid. I had to croup, Okay, which is like a respiratory problem.
Yeah, it throws you into bronchospasms.
Yeah, basically, it's like congestion, and I can't breathe, asthma,
Mm-hmm.
And I sat, we had to go to the hospital, and my parents called an ambulance because I couldn't breathe.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I ended up having to go sit outside because the air was cooler and therefore denser and had more oxygen in it.
Right.
Okay. And it took the ambulance from Carroll County General Hospital over an hour and a half to get to my house.
Wow.
Yeah. And then there was a horror story in the hospital where I couldn't breathe, and I was in an oxygen tent at the time. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't breathe, and I was hitting the nurse button because I couldn't breathe. And nobody was coming, so I started throwing stuff out into the hallway. And they came in and said, "You got to stop throwing stuff into the hallway." "Oh, you're blue. Maybe we should help you."
Gosh.
Day after that, I got thrown out of the hospital because I went off on the nurses for being incompetent fucking cunts, quote unquote, because that's what they were.
Well, and here's the problem with that too. I was a nursing student for a while, whether you may or may not know that. And one of the big things is that the nursing profession as a whole is understaffed, but the hospitals are doing that intentionally so that one RN will have up to 8 patients under their care during their shift. And the ideal model, the model it's supposed to be, is 4 patients per nurse maximum. So, and that's the problem to run into. You'll have one person that needs assistance or multiple patients at the same time, and then they can't do anything because they're only one person. And they're understaffed.
Yeah. See,
I could have died
when you're dealing with
exactly
lives like that,
But they weren't.
I'm saying here again, that's the hospital administration trying to save money on labor. And
when she's sitting at the desk doing paperwork,
which is required to be done too, or again,
not
they
above the help of the
themselves.
patient.
Oh, I agree, but there's only so many hours in a shift, and they're expected to get all this stuff done and everything else. If they would have more appropriate staffing levels, then the quality of care would be much better, and you wouldn't have patients almost dying in a hospital because the nurse can't get to them. I'm saying there's probably error on both parts there, but.
Well, she wasn't in a hurry to come and help me, even though I was banging on the thing. And afterwards, what made me go into the tirade against the nurses was that I asked her, "Did you hear the buzzer going off?" And she was like, "Yeah, I was sitting at the desk doing paperwork." I was like, "Well,
yeah,
when
I'm
calling for help in a hospital, I expect to get it in a short period of time because that's why I'm in the fucking hospital." Okay?
Right.
That's why I've been in here for 6 days, because I can't breathe. Maybe, it's just, that's incompetence, okay? I don't give a shit about anything else, but that's incompetence.
Yeah. Well, I think that whole system, as with a lot of our systems in our country, needs to be completely revamped with more common sense involved.
Sure.
But it'll probably never happen, so.
Oh, hell no. Well, we won't have to worry about it for long.
Right. Yeah, all right. So the other thing I want to talk about is there was a climate change rally, or I guess I should say a climate awareness rally during this week.
We have a climate?
Yeah, it's that whole global warming causing the snow thing.
How high is it? You're going to climb it. How high is it?
Yeah.
But the thing that was messed up about it, here we are, you got Obama who's supposed to be all hope and change, and
Obama H. Christ.
And
second coming.
Right, exactly. Okay, so you figure, he'd want to hear this rally, because these are all progressives that are going to try to, that want to change all this and, put a stop to this. Instead, during that climate change rally, he was playing golf with a bunch of the big oil executives.
Which is the exact same place that George W. Bush would have been. Because that's where the money is.
Exactly. And I just think it's so funny how many people truly believe that this president is any different from any other president we've had prior.
I think that a lot of it was he got the white guilt vote.
A white guilt vote?
The white guilt vote. Because he is black, that means he has to be better than the white guy. Because the white guy is always the bad guy. You know? And I think it's kind of like almost like some twisted, like, reverse racism thing.
Racism.
It's true. I mean, you know,
it's just racism.
Well, yeah.
Reverse racism.
But against the white man.
It's still racism.
Yes, it is.
It's not reverse.
And I agree with that. It's just racism, but people don't recognize it as such. Otherwise, it would be taboo for me to call people rednecks or crackers or white trash.
I'm none of those things. And me.
You're bordering on white trash.
I'm bordering on white trash?
Yeah.
Why? Because I have 4 kids?
No. You're just bordering on white trash.
Or just my general persona is bordering.
I could see you in a trailer. That's all I can say.
I could see me in a trailer, too. I could
see you in a trailer, too.
He just reminded me of Raising Arizona. Son, you got a panty on your head.
Mind you don't cut yourself, Mordecai.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, I don't know. I just thought it was kind of messed up because everybody seems to criticize Obama for supposedly being so special, but he's a politician. People need to understand that. He's the same as everything that's stepped before him, other than the color of his skin.
Well, have we forgotten all the criticism that Bush endured during his, tenure?
Yeah, well, Bush was an idiot.
Yeah. So was Obama.
Obama isn't the idiot that Bush was. Okay, so let's keep that in perspective. Okay, Obama is a typical politician. He's playing the politics. George Bush had a hard time talking. He would come out doing dances to the podiums. I mean, he was like a college frat boy in the White House. It was ridiculous.
Well, how do you think I would look as the president? Come on, you guys know me personally.
I think the problem with Bush for me was with all that stupidity was like, okay, you're not respecting the office. That was what my problem was with him.
So, and I kind of feel the same way when Obama walks out and does a photo op doing gang signs with his wife and daughter.
Doing gang signs?
Yes. So, I mean...
He wasn't gang signs.
Yes.
No.
Oh, sorry. The whole West Side, yes, that's gang sign.
Well, maybe it stood for West Wing,
Yeah, okay, uh-huh.
Lord.
See, and there, it's like, elevating that to a different level.
No, because
that's white guilt.
I'll be dead to God serious. I've never seen that happen. So if you have a picture of it, by all means, let me see.
I'll have to find it. I've seen it.
Is it photoshopped?
I don't think it is.
So, I mean, I watched Bush's speeches live. And I watched him with his stupid comments and the laugh always killed me too, but the comment and like he would do fucking like almost like the chicken dance walking out to the fucking podium sometimes.
Yeah, I know. He was a weird guy. Okay, and I'm not
is with that. The policies are irrelevant in this conversation because I'm talking about just a man being an idiot.
Yeah, and I didn't like Bush either. For the same reasons I don't like Obama, they're both fucking politicians,
and that's fine. And it's because of them being a politician that we hate them.
Well, yeah, that was what I was getting ready to say. Is I don't care if he does chicken dances or any of that stuff. Can he do the job and can he do it well?
And he couldn't.
That's where I have the problem. Right.
Neither can Obama.
You're right.
Well, I haven't seen
he is not protecting
Bush
independent
Senior that has actually done anything worth a squat. But that's my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, my thing is that it's become too much about the publicity. It's become too much about the sound bites.
It's a show.
Social media.
Right.
It's a show, and as a show, it is entertainment, and as entertainment, it is a sideshow. So what's really happening in Washington?
Circus freaks.
What's that sideshow supposed to be detracting from? The shitty fucking stuff behind the curtain. I mean,
All right. So I wanted to talk about that a little bit, but we only got a couple minutes left here, so I want to hit on one last thing. And there was a House bill introduced by Senator
Charlie Rangel.
Cole.
Oh, is this the effort to legalize marijuana in Maryland?
No. Oh no, this is
Senator Rangel's New York Democrat.
Yes, a New York.
This is House Bill H.R. 748.
Yeah, he just introduced a bill that would require all persons in the United States between the ages of 18 to 25 to perform national service. These persons in the United States would either serve the country as a member of uniformed services or as civilian service. The civilian service could be served with a federal, state, or local government program. The local government programs include community-based organizations. H.R. 748 would authorize the induction of persons in the uniformed services during wartime to meet end strength requirements of the uniformed services.
They'll draft you.
And to provide for the registration of women under the Military Selective Service Act and for other purposes.
Whatever the other purposes may be.
Okay, this sounds like the whole theory in Starship Troopers.
What's that?
Citizen. In order to be a citizen, you had to serve in the military there in that movie.
Yeah, but in Starship Troopers, you have the option of not doing so and just not being a citizen.
Not being a citizen and not having voting rights.
It wasn't mandatory. It was optional with perks.
Yeah.
There again, we go back to the whole sideshow propaganda video crap thing. Yeah.
Well, if you go through some of these.
Do you want to know more?
The bills that have been introduced into some of the stuff, but like this is pretty much like they're saying, okay, if you're between the ages of 18 and 25, you're essentially an indentured servant to the government.
Mm-hmm.
And
as a military reservist, you're their property until they're done with it.
But yeah, I was going to say, essentially what this is doing the same thing that the Soviet Union had done for years. I don't know if they still do it or not since the fall of the
conscription.
But yeah, everybody had to serve 2 years in the military, minimum.
Yeah. Well, Israel and Switzerland does the same thing. And honestly, their societies aren't that bad off, but unfortunately, they don't have the weird politics that we have.
Exactly.
And this is being done for political reasons, not because A, Switzerland needs to retain its neutrality, or B, Israel is basically surrounded by enemies. So
yeah.
This is being done basically, I think, to create that national security force that people were saying Obama would create.
But here's the thing. If you're making people do it, are they really going to be willing to do that and put their lives out there and stuff? I think it would be great from the quality of the military. I think it would hurt more than help.
Why did you join the military?
Because I wanted to, because it was a matter of personal pride and honor.
And
help my country do something responsible.
And with all of the propaganda that's going through the school systems nowadays, and the nationalism that's being, the rhetoric that's being, stirred up in the children today about how the government is the ultimate all good thing, and all this stuff, you don't see that in saying serving your country is an honorable thing, and that will give you pride and all this other stuff.
I see it as that, but but that is under a voluntary military thing. They should want to have to do it, not be forced to do it.
Well, remember, this is also after the requirement now for graduation that they have community service hours. So they've already partially been wrangled into saying, okay.
Well, hang on now. Not every state requires the community service hours.
That's true, but this one does.
This Maryland does, yes.
Okay. I'm saying, and community service is also something that's usually done as a sentence for somebody as a punishment.
Right.
Now it's a requirement. It's
for the community.
As far as community service in the schools goes and the graduation requirement, I tend to lean towards that being a good thing. I think it would open the children's eyes to the real world and what really happens. You know, for example, letting them go work in a soup kitchen for a day or help homeless people at a shelter or something like that. I think it would open their eyes to reality a little bit. But sending them out to pick up trash off the side of the road or something like that, yeah, that's kind of a punishment thing. That doesn't really open their eyes to anything.
They learn how to make bum fights.
Well, they're also being required to do it. It's not like they're doing it of their own free will to be good people. They're being basically corralled into doing these things as a matter of course. It's like if you want to graduate, you got to do this, and in some states now you have to say God in your graduation oath.
Yeah.
You know?
That story.
It's indoctrination is what it is.
Right.
Indoctrination to what?
Yeah, we should be able to be a bunch of lazy fucks without anybody bothering us.
Yeah, we should. That's freedom. You know, if you be lazy fuck, you don't get
Well, you should have the choice to do that, but I don't think that that's productive to the country as a whole.
Yeah, but my existence isn't about how productive I am. I mean, if I want to be a lazy fuck and do nothing in my life, I'll have to live with the consequences of that and not have it subsidized by the government. Yeah.
Yeah, well.
That's a whole other argument.
Yeah, I was going to say, my argument to that would be if everybody in the country did it, then China could just walk in here and then they could make you work. Because you'd be under a different government.
Well, we're already under a different government. We're getting real close to the enabling act to be done here. That was a Germany thing.
Yes, it was.
Sorry.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. All right. Well, on that note, Mr. Fred has to go because he has to do something, and we already ran 2 minutes over than we were supposed to be. So that is going to be it for the show tonight. For Mike and Esworthy and Fred, have a good night. As Congress of the Working Class. See ya.
Later.
Bye-bye.
Listen up, man, I'll tell you who I am. Just another stupid American. You don't want to listen, you don't want to understand. So finish up.